Hello and welcome to Biz Buzz with Bruno. I'm your host, Michael Bruno, always brought to you by Mads Theater. And today I'm very thrilled to finally have the lovely and talented Jen Uphoff-Gray from Forward Theater to sit and chat about all the wonderful things that are happening with you in your life.
You can't be more thrilled than I am to finally be here. So thank you.
We're equally thrilled.
Yes.
I love it. So Jen, let's talk about you, because people get 5 minutes to see you at the beginning, at the end of all the shows at Forward Theater, or they read your name about things. But I don't think people know a lot about your history and who you are. So let's get to know you.
Happy to do that. Well, I grew up in the Madison area. I am a proud Panther graduate of Oregon High School.
Oh, nice.
And really grew up in the Madison suburbs, and loved theater. Did a lot of theater. My late mother was a huge Broadway musicals fan, and she loved theater and really made a point of bringing us to see plays when we were kids. Some of my fondest memories as a child. I'm half Jewish. My mother's Jewish. My father's Quaker. It's a great combination.
Wow, there's an interesting combination.
It is. It's fantastic.
Wow.
But one of the things she loved to do back in the Civic Center days when we were kids was inevitably there'd be some bus and truck touring Broadway production playing the Civic Center over Christmas. And so she would get us tickets to see the musical on Christmas Day. So I remember seeing Annie and Barnum and shows like that when they were coming through. So I grew up around theater, and by the time I was in like middle and junior high, started doing theater in school and some shows with Oregon Straw Hat Players. But I truly never considered being in the theater professionally. I loved it. I loved being on stage and being a part of theater storytelling. But if you were to find, and please don't go looking for it, but were you to find my high school yearbook, you would see that my goal was to go to law school and to become the first female senator from the state of Wisconsin.
Wow.
I'm very happy Tammy Baldwin took that crown. So yeah, that was my plan. I went to Harvard College, and I was a history major, and my plan was, undergraduate history degree, law school, civil liberties law, politics. That was my trajectory. And I was very fortunate because every class that I was taking while I was an undergraduate that wasn't either a requirement of the major or one of they called it the core curriculum, sort of your distribution credits. Every class that I was signing up for purely as an elective was one of the few theater classes that they offered, because they didn't offer a theater major.
I'm surprised they even had anything.
But they did. I mean, it's interesting. They didn't have a theater major. They didn't have what we would call practical majors. Like you couldn't major pre-med, but you could major in chemistry or something like that, right?
Okay, I got it.
But the American Repertory Theater was in residence at the theater on campus at Harvard, which was a major regional theater company. It was led at the time by Robert Brustein, who was a big figure, who had started the Yale Repertory Theater. I mean, so they had really high quality theater happening right there. Mark Rylance and Cherry Jones both performed shows while I was an undergrad there, and I would go see them and everything. So I was taking all these theater classes because I loved it. And one of the classes that I took happened to be one where you would do a little acting and a little playwriting and a little directing. And it was one of those kind of light bulby moments when I was directing scenes and going, hang on, the things I love about theater and the things I feel good at come together in this job. And towards the end of my junior year of college, I thought, I don't want to go to law school. I want to be a theater director. And I was fortunate. They had an option there where you could create your own sort of independent study major if you could, fulfill enough credits in that topic and find a faculty advisor. And there was the Harvard Theater Research Library was there, and Dr. Jean Newland ran that, and I got her to be my advisor. So my degree is actually in dramatic literature and stage history, which was that's my, biochem equivalent, right? That's the building blocks to be a director.
Right.
So yeah, that was my sort of pivot point. Again, want to shout out my parents for being the kinds of folks who weren't freaking out when I was like, here I am from Harvard, by the way, I'm not going to law school anymore. But, I grew up, they both worked for nonprofits their whole careers. And And I moved to New York and started directing after I graduated undergrad.
That's so cool.
That
Did you have any
right.
connections in New York, or did you decide I'm just going to go to New York, with my carpet bag and my and my $5 in my coin purse?
Yeah, well, there were three things that sort of emboldened me to sort of go straight to New York out of college. One was, I mean, my mom had grown up on the East Coast, so I had aunts and uncles and grandparents that were all in and around. Some were in Manhattan, some were in New Jersey, but I had family around. My then boyfriend, who I met in college, who is now my husband of 31 years, had moved to, like, he was ahead of me in school and had moved to New York, so it was very easy
Oh, she was already
to
there.
follow him there.
Aha.
But professionally, the big thing was the summer between my junior and senior years of college, I took an internship in New York City, working for a very small commercial off-Broadway producer called Richard Frankel Productions. They since moved and they've expanded. They do a lot of Broadway stuff, but at the time they really focused on off-Broadway commercial shows. And they had an internship that I was able to apply for. And I really liked the idea of it because I'd been around American Repertory Theater on campus at Harvard. So I'd seen a little bit about how the nonprofit regional theater model was working. This was a chance to learn a little more about the commercial theater side. And because it was such a small office, they had maybe 6 or 7 employees. It was one intern who kind of supported everybody. And I got to actually get my fingers into
everything. Yeah,
into
that's
everything.
nice. Yep.
And it was great. And I had a wonderful experience and I learned a lot from all of them. And they really took an interest in me when I directed my sort of thesis project up at Harvard my senior year. I did Love's Labor's Lost. They actually sent some folks from their staff to come see it. And so when I moved to New York, they got me in the door to interview for my first assistant directing gigs. And that really it's why I never went to grad school. I started working real fast.
And that's a lot of times that's what happens.
Yeah.
You have this this goal, you have this path you're going to lead down, and all of a sudden some wonderful little side door opens.
Yeah.
It's like I was, when I graduated from Edgewood, and I got my first year paid to go to Edgewood College back in the Jewel Fitzgerald days.
Amazing.
And then all of a sudden I got an offer to go on tour with the Wisconsin Children's Theater, and it was like, this is a paid gig and it's what I want to do and it's acting. I'm not sitting in a classroom, twiddling my thumbs, doing the stuff that I've been doing since I was a kid with stagecoach players at the original CTM at Regina Hall. College. So that was my background. I thought, why should I be sitting? The degree stuff kind of went away. And it was like, I just, I'm getting a job in something that I really want to do. And I learned how to do 5 shows a day with kids and how to be on the road and how to do all the things you want to do when you're with a professional acting company.
That's exactly right. I remember I reached a point after I'd been in New York for a few years where I thought, oh, I really should get an MFA in directing. Like that's the thing I should do.
Right.
And so I applied to, a half a dozen top programs, and I was really fortunate to make it to sort of the interview stage at most of them, at least. And at the time I was scheduling all these interviews, I was actually the assistant director for the Broadway production of a new musical called The Life with Michael Blakemore and Cy Coleman, and both of whom are no longer with us, unfortunately. But so I had to get a day off from rehearsal so I could go up to New Haven to interview with Yale. And I remember sitting and talking with the stage manager for this Broadway musical. We were in rehearsals and we were sitting over lunch, and he'd been doing this for decades. And he just said, why are you doing this? I was like, oh, well, I feel like this is the next step that I need to take in my career. And he's like, okay, well, think about it. And then I went and I interviewed, and I remember talking to the folks in the interview to get into their MFA program. And they said, when our MFA directors graduate, the job they're trying to get is the job you have right now. So if your goal is to teach, which would be a fine goal.
Sure.
This is a good path. But if your goal is not to do something that requires that piece of paper, is this the best use of the next 3 years of your life? And I thought, oh, okay. That's good advice.
And how great that somebody gave you that advice too. How that somebody actually said to you, "Oh no, this is the path you need to take, and you need to go get your MFA, and this is what everybody does.
Yeah,
this is what's expected of people."
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
I used a little bit. I had been saving some money very carefully. I've been doing a lot of temping in between those assistant directing jobs. Temping in New York City was a good way to like keep the rent paid. And I've been saving and saving in order to help cover costs if I were to go to grad school. And instead I self-produced a little show. I rented the upstairs theater at Playwrights Horizons, and I cast a show, and I hired all these people, and I directed it, and I got an agent out of it, and I got, it was really a great way to show all of these producers who I'd been working with as an assistant director, here's what I can do when it's my show. And I was like, this is cheaper than grad school. So that's the justification.
And how great that you got the assistant directing, the course. It was a wonderful course, like teaching how the up and coming people.
Yeah,
it's like this is how you learn everything.
Yeah,
when you get a really great director or you get a really great person who can mentor you and learn everything as an assistant, and that's a great. It's like stage managing.
Yeah.
Like, God loves stage managers and how far and few they are between. You like kind of glom on,
right.
But getting your foot in the door by doing those kind of things as an assistant or even as an intern and learning it that way. I mean, that you can't get that out of a book. I think you can't be taught those things by sitting in a classroom, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean,
there are ways to get there.
Yeah.
But for me, I was really fortunate. I had two unbelievably generous mentors during those years that I was eventually I became an associate director instead of an assistant director, which basically means you're not fetching coffee and you're actually helping like put replacement casts in and maintain long running shows and all that. But I did 3 shows with Michael Blakemore. I did 2 shows with Sam Mendes. And both of them, I think because they both came up through the British system where mentorship was really a big part of that system, they really saw it as their responsibility to help, foster the next wave. And it's something, as I've gotten, decades further into my own career, I've been really conscious of wanting to pay forward.
And so let's jump then. How did you come back to Madison? What brought you back to Madison?
Sure.
From New York?
So, I'll just compress. I was doing a lot of assisting, a lot of associate directing. I was directing my own things in smaller houses. I, did the world premiere of an off-Broadway musical. I was doing more of that. And then I started having some children. That was part of it. And so as my, I have 3 kids. My 2 sons were both born in New York. My daughter was born after we moved back here. So part of it was figuring out what is the right life for us as a family, but really the bigger factor for me in feeling ready to leave New York was that, again, going back to that sort of Quaker Jewish upbringing, socialists on both sides of my family, this sense, I don't know if you've ever heard the Jewish concept of tikkun olam, but it means sort of to repair the world or to heal the world.
Oh, okay.
It fits very well with the Quaker philosophy as well, that like you just have a responsibility to be every day doing something that's helping to make the world a little better. And I've said this before, but I intrinsically believe that art makes the world better. It needs no further excuse or explanation.
I agree.
Working in the commercial theater, it was very hard to feel like the work I was doing was making the world a better place, not because the art wasn't good, but because you never talk to an audience member, you never interact with it. It's like you don't have subscribers like we have at Forward, where I get to have an ongoing conversation about the world we live in and how the theater we are doing is contributing or illuminating or educating or expanding how we see our community. And so I just started to lose faith that what I was doing was a sufficient contribution. And so, my husband and I, we just reached a point where, we felt ready to leave. And so we decided to move back here. There was family. It felt like a good place to raise a family. And I thought, well, I'm going to try to be a freelance director in Southern Wisconsin. We'll see how that goes. If that doesn't work, I was like, I could see myself as like chief of staff to a state senator. That feels like a good job for me. That would be fulfilling. I could do that. And I started to freelance. And I was lucky. I got some work with Madison Rep when it was still here. I directed a show at Milwaukee Shakespeare when it was still in existence. And I felt like, oh yeah, this is starting to percolate. And then the Madison Rep folded. And I was fortunate to be invited to sit at Celia, Claire, and Sam White's table when she was planning a conversation about how can we save professional theater in Madison. And then Forward happened.
And now, what was your husband doing in New York?
He was a headhunter, like an executive recruiter.
Oh, okay.
And so he was working he'd worked for a couple of the really big firms as like he often refers to himself as a recovering Wall Street recruiter. Then he was working for himself. And he spent many years working for QTI here in Madison when we moved.
Okay.
And now he once again has his own business focusing on nonprofit leadership.
Nice.
Which is great.
And how old were your kids when you were there?
So my boys, when we moved back here, one had just turned 2. The older one was about to turn 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that a big factor? Like maybe not really wanting to raise your kids in New York? Was that a concerning thing for you? That would have been when?
This is in the early 2000s.
Early 2000s?
I mean, it was a factor. I mean, the reality is my oldest, I brought him to work with me I went back to work when he was 5 weeks old.
So much for maternity leave.
I know. Well, because I had worked on Broadway with Michael Blakemore on the production of Copenhagen by Michael Frayn. And then they hired me to direct the National Touring Company. And that was going into rehearsal 5 weeks after my son was born. But it was great because I was recreating a production. I wasn't having to do it from scratch. And they were so great. And I remember, again, brilliant stage managers. And so I would work a 5-hour shift, like with the actors. And I had hired a nanny who would sit in the green room with my son, and I would nurse him on all the equity breaks. And then the actors would just review then with the stage management for the rest of the rehearsal day. And I'd come back, and then we only had to go out of town for about 2 weeks to tech the show. And my husband came with me to stay with our son. So we made it all work. But as he got, you can do that with a 5-week-old. You just kind of tote them around.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of choice. They
get a little older, and it doesn't work as well. And what I was feeling was that I was not willing to completely sacrifice time with my family to be a working director. And in a place like New York, there was not really a need, for the most part, to compromise on what they want from a director to accommodate the fact that I had young children, because there were plenty of directors to choose from. And so, it was different when I was recreating this production that I had worked on, and it was, but any future productions, I had seen what that lifestyle is like, and it's really hard. And I was hopeful that I could find a way to, when you're a working mother, you always feel like you're not doing a good enough job for your work or your mothering, but I was hopeful I could find something that maybe balanced a little bit better.
And are any of your kids involved in the theaters at all? They have theatricality in their bones?
They my oldest and my youngest both did a lot of theater in high school. And my daughter was a big Young Shakespeare player.
Oh, okay.
And she played Hamlet and Rosalind and Edmund, and she was Romeo. But she's now a freshman in college and is pursuing other things. My middle child didn't pursue theater so much, but he did a lot of forensics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So none of them are pursuing it professionally, which is just fine, but they all enjoy it and respect it, and that is lovely.
That's great.
Yeah.
So now we're at the beginning of what was to become Forward Theater.
Yeah.
Was it originally named Forward Theater when it went right from the rep?
From the get-go.
And how did that come about? Were you in the selection of the process?
Yep.
Like, what do we name our baby?
Yeah. So, really, that first meeting around Celia and Sam's table, a lot of things got figured out by the 6 of us that were at that table. I did come in, and I still have it. I had this like roll of butcher block paper that was like craft supplies for my kids, right? And when I knew that I was going to be going to this meeting at Celia's, we had a mutual I didn't know Celia very well, but we had a mutual friend in common, and who had said, "Celia, you got to invite Jen." I sketched out a whole bunch of ideas on this piece of paper of like, what could a professional regional theater that is rooted in its community, that really takes its responsibility as a public service seriously, what could that look like? How might it be structured? Does it have to look and be structured the way everything else is, or not? And I sketched out a whole bunch of different ideas. and brought that to this meeting, and we all kind of, worked off of that. But I had not come up with an idea for a name for the company. I just knew that it wanted to be something, because our company is very rooted in the Wisconsin idea, and being in the capital city and being of service. I mean, this is in early 2009. Obama had just been elected. We were all like, yeah,
happy.
And so we knew we wanted it to be a name that would reflect the position here in our state capital, but we weren't, it's like, you can't call it the Capitol Theater because that's the name of the space at Overture. We didn't want to call it the Rotunda Theater, although that was, we went through all these different things. And it was Michael Harold who said, what about Forward? Thinking of the Lady Forward statue. And we all were sold. I mean, it was literally that first meeting.
Wow.
We said Forward Theater Company. Done.
And that was in 2009.
March 22nd. We're coming up on our
coming up on your big anniversary.
Birthday.
So is there any big plan for the birthday celebration, or is it all be kind of wrapped into the things that are coming up in March?
Yeah, we don't usually have a big birthday party where we more celebrate like the completion of each season. Our sort of like, this is the day we were founded, is something we kind of internally more just go, yay. I think some of the big anniversary dates will probably do a little more, but yeah.
So that brings us up to what's going on now with Forward Theater. What's the next big thing?
I'm really excited about our next show. I start rehearsals in a week and a half. I'll be directing this one. It's our next world premiere. And it's part of World Premiere Wisconsin, which this is the second outing of that. And maybe we'll circle back to that, because that was something that we started at Forward that I'm really proud of. But the idea is encouraging Wisconsin theaters of all sorts, schools, community theaters, college, everything, professional, to do world premieres during this year. And so we are doing a world premiere called Lady Disdain. It's by Lauren Gunderson, a Forward favorite. We've done many of her shows before. This will actually be a rolling world premiere. It's going to be staged here in April, and then it'll have a subsequent production at Oslo in Florida coming up in June. This rolling world premiere model is such a great development for playwrights, I think, because basically both of our companies have committed to doing this play a few months apart, and it allows the playwright to come work here with us, get our first production up, see how it works, and then figure out a few more tweaks for the next production before you go, okay, now I'm ready to publish it and let people start licensing it. It is a contemporary rom-com, loosely based on Much Ado About Nothing. So we're getting my little Shakespeare love in here. I love a rom-com. And I was so thrilled when Lauren sent me her very, very first draft of this. She just sent it off and said, I wrote this for me, not because I was commissioned by anybody, but just because I wanted it to exist. And I kind of feel like you might want it to exist too. And I got 4 pages in and I was like, you have to let us do this here. Because it's set in the world of romance novels, not inside them, but people who consume them. So our Beatrice and Benedict, as in Much Ado About Nothing, are now B and Ben. It's set contemporary. They are actors, exes. They will be played in our production by Colleen Madden and David Daniel, who also played Beatrice and Benedict at APT about a decade ago. But our B and Ben have been hired by an audiobook company to record the hottest new romantasy series on the market. And as a lifelong reader of romance novels, I love how feminist and fun and feisty this play is in celebrating women and an art form that has traditionally been created by and for women that has been looked down upon. And so, oh my goodness, it's just so fun and flirty and powerful. I think people will have a great old time and leave really fired up in more ways than one. I realize that could go in a couple of ways. Yeah, so I'm thrilled to work with Lauren again, one of my favorite collaborators. We have a killer cast, and I love the subject matter.
And that's coming up in April, right?
Yes. It's going to run in April in the Playhouse.
Have tickets already gone on sale?
They are on sale. Grab them. I think this one's going
to sell out, baby.
Real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
But before that happens, you also have this wonderful thing with a couple of the libraries.
Yes.
In dealing with the romance theme,
Yes.
right?
So, I mean, every time we do any Play It Forward, we're always thinking about what kinds of other programs or educational things or outreach or what have you might we do. And we're always trying to do a bunch of different kinds of things around each show. And we're thinking always two different kinds of audiences, like who are the people in our traditional forward audience who might want to learn more about the subject matter of this play? And who are the people who are not part of our typical audience, but might be really interested in this subject matter of this particular play? So we have a little something for everybody. So coming up in a week on Saturday, March 7th at Sequoia Public Library, we're just hosting a romance book swap. Just like Sequoia frequently hosts jigsaw puzzle swaps.
Yep.
If you're a romance reader, bring some books you're done with. Get some books that are new to you, and we might have some people reading a few scenes from Lady Disdain, maybe a little discount code, but just it's a chance to make people who are romance readers aware that we're going to be doing this play that celebrates these books. So that's coming up on the 7th. And then we're going to also partner on March 11th with our friends at Wisconsin Book Festival, who we frequently work with. 7 p.m. on the 11th at the Central Library, we're hosting a panel of romance novelists who are all based in Wisconsin, but a gamut of different styles.
Oh, wow.
We've got historical, contemporary, we've got some queer romance, we've got a Latinx set story, writers from Madison, from Milwaukee, from Green Bay. So it's going to be this panel discussion about this industry and what it's like being a romance novelist in 2026 and how the business is changing, how the books are evolving. I get to moderate it, which is super fun. I've had to read all these books. Oh, it's been terrible reading all of these great books.
We have to have Fabio come in.
So I'm going to host this wonderful group of writers. We'll have maybe some little scenes performed. It's also a free event. I can't wait.
How fun is that?
It's pretty great.
Now, it's free, but can you just show up or do you have to make a reservation for it?
For both of them.
And that's for both of them?
Yeah. Come on down to the library.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So the other thing we were talking about earlier is who were the three people's names you wrote down?
Oh, well, we have Wisconsin Rights.
Oh, that's it. That was it. Okay,
so
I couldn't come up with the
Lady
name of it.
Disdain is the end of our main stage season. This is our 17th season, so that's the closing of that on the main stage. But we do still have our New Work Festival.
That's it.
Yep. So we have Wisconsin Rights, which we've been doing every other year, where we let any Wisconsin-based playwright submit a full-length unproduced play, and we have a bunch of people who read them, and they sort of get juried down. We had over 50 submissions this year, which was great. But the three pieces that we're going to be workshopping and then presenting public stage readings of in May, we have Roses and Ruses by David Daniel, which is so great. He just wrote a piece that got done at Two Crows earlier this year. People know him more as an actor, but he's a great writer. And I should point out, we read all of these with the author's names off, and then it's this delight. You sort of select, and then you go, "Oh my God, Dee Dee!
Who wrote this?
Dee wrote this." So Roses and Ruses, which is a romantic comedy, actually, which is great. A piece called Impossible Monsters by Jacqueline Kehoe. That's sort of a historical fiction. Really love that one. And then a beautiful piece called Paper by Ali Mansouri. So the three pieces couldn't be more different, but these are three wonderful writers. This is the program we do where we just really invest in playwrights, and can't wait.
And you do that all in one night at one?
We do 3 nights. So
okay.
Each of these gets a week's work with a professional director, stage manager, actors, a dramaturg. So they spend the week working on it, rewriting, what have you. And then at the end of the week, they get an evening reading. So it'll be on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night. So people who love seeing works in progress, it's a great way to see something brand new. You can come 3 nights in a row and get 3 really different plays.
And what year of this have you been doing it? When did you start this?
We started doing these new play readings in our first season. It officially became Wisconsin Rights, I think, in season 5 or season 7, because the Wisconsin Rights Program used to be something, it was started at the School of Continuing Studies at UW.
Oh,
And then
that's how
it was
came.
getting defunded.
Aha.
And we were participating by helping support the readings as forward from the, from our founding. But then when it looked like it was going to lose its home at Continuing Studies, we took it under our wings.
And do you know offhand if any of those productions have become part of your seasons?
Yes, several. We developed Learning to Stay there. We developed Artemisia, Lauren Gunderson's play. We also developed the Medellinian Debate, Quan Barry's play. We found that was a blind submission that we found.
Wow.
That came to our main stage, and many of the plays have gone on to full productions at other companies.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What a great project. You actually get people's work presented.
Yeah, and the goal is really helping the playwrights figure out what their play needs next, which playwriting, you can't, it's not novel writing. You, at a certain point, you have to get out of your own space and do it collaboratively. Yeah.
So now I'm going to throw a real curveball for you. So if you weren't in the position you're in right now, and you could have your choice of doing something else, that would be as fulfilling to you. I mean, not as fulfilling, but it would be equally fulfilling to you. Do you have an idea of what that possibly would be?
I don't, Michael. Can I say, like, this is my dream job.
Right?
It really is, and it, building forward over these 17 years with an incredible group of humans. Like, I'm often the public face of it, but it is a group of incredible people on our staff, our boards of directors, our advisory company of artists. But I get to do work as a director. I get to go into a rehearsal room with people like Colleen and Dee Dee to work on a farce about romance novels and Shakespeare. I get to do that a couple times a year, but I also get to hire other directors and actors and designers. I get to support playwrights. I get to mentor new directors. It's kind of impossible for me to picture something I would be as fulfilled. And it's not just all those artists I get to work with, it's also the audience we have here. Because going back to that Tikkun Olam and getting to actually see the ways in which the work is helpful to a community, the audience members that we have at Forward, I get to talk to them. I mean, that's why I'm in the lobby every night before the show. It's why I lead every talk back after every performance. People email me, people stop me at the grocery store to say, hey, I really liked, or I really didn't like that last show. But like, it feels like what we are creating is dialogue, not monologue. And it's magical. It's really magical.
I love that.
I do too. So I don't want to think about another job that would make me, I'm sure I would land on my feet and come up with something else that I found fulfilling, but I can't think of a dream job that's better than what I'm doing now.
So you're the perfect person to do that job then. If that's your dream job and you can't think of anything else, then that's where you're supposed to be.
I'll keep going as long as they let me.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And I know you don't have the announcement for the next season, but when does that happen? When do you announce your next season?
Yeah, so we will announce our 18th season on March 24th. So coming up very soon. I'll give you one little secret. Nobody, this is still
nobody's listening.
No, sure. Just as we are ending this current season with a world premiere, because this whole year of 2026 is a world premiere Wisconsin year, we are also starting our next season with another world premiere.
Oh.
So to do 2 in one calendar year it's a big deal. It's a big investment of resources, but we wanted to literally double down on our commitment to world premiere of Wisconsin. And so I encourage, I will just say, companies all across Madison, all across the state are doing new plays this year as part of World Premiere Wisconsin. And I obviously can't shout all of them out, but please, check out the World Premiere Wisconsin website, sign up for the newsletter. It's really been thrilling to see how theaters from across the state are supporting each other and supporting new work in this way. It's been really good for all of us.
That's so great.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, like you say, having, been born and raised here and went away and came back. It's so encouraging and it's always so astonishing to me how many companies and how much arts and entertainment are available to us in Madison.
Yeah.
When back in the day, you were lucky to have maybe one or two.
Yeah. We punch above our weight, I like to say. Yeah.
But it's so encouraging. I mean, every time I turn around, I get a PR from press release from a new dance company
Yeah.
or a new improv company, or we were talking earlier about that wonderful art space, Art House 360 in
Yeah.
Verona. Just these amazingly wonderful things that we have in our backyard.
Yeah.
And you're part of it.
Well, I am very, very grateful to be part of an ecosystem like this. It really makes my job deeply fulfilling and frankly easier when you've got audiences and artists like we have here. Pretty great.
Great. Well, Lady Disdain, I love the name.
I know,
Love the
my dear
name.
Lady Disdain.
April 9th to the 26th at the Playhouse.
Yep.
At the Overture. Tickets are on sale
They are.
at the box office and the Overture.
Yep.
And I am so thrilled to sit down and find actually to just sit and talk to you.
Same.
More than 5 minutes of saying hello to each other.
I know. Same.
On
Thank you
opening
for
night.
having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Deb. We'll see you next week already. Again.
Again.